and Senzo Inkunzemnya Maya Segwazulu is on the vehicle filming me and hopefully some animals today. We'll head out towards some birds over there, and I will continue to tell you or complete the housekeeping section of the safari. The housekeeping section consists of the following. You must please talk to us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Otherwise, you can, of course, use the chat stream on YouTube. The next piece of housekeeping is to tell you who the team is. Well, we've got Noelle out. She's looking for lions with 0 signal. We've got Scott out. He's looking for cheetah with 0 signal. In fact, no, the internet is down in the Masai Mara, so that's why they're not joining us. So at the moment, it's just us and these blacksmith lapwings, and of course the very fine team in the final control, headed up by Kirsten McLennan-Smith, and ably assisted today, I think, by Ashley. Is that correct? Now, that means, everybody, and I'll let you in on a small secret here, we've got a full redhead complement there in the final control. Terrifying stuff. You don't want to go in there, and, well, certainly not unless you have a death wish. So that's the team for this afternoon, and you, of course, are the most important part of any live safari team, because otherwise I'd be talking to no one, and goodness knows I'd hate to be talking to no one. Wouldn't I, Senzo? Exactly. Good. You may be asking yourself, why is he not moving just yet? And the answer to that, of course, is because, well, the weather is 72 degrees in Fahrenheit and 22 degrees centigrade, and that means there has been quite a bit of rain today, and that means we have the rain covers on, and unfortunately our rain cover seems to have detached itself from one side, and I'm going to have to rectify that situation. Unfortunately for you, I'm the only one on drive right now, so you're going to have to watch me do it. Sorry about that. I do apologize. As and when another feed comes up, Senzo will tell me, and then, of course, we can link over to them. I'm just going to quickly fix the roof here. Wonderful. Please find something interesting for the viewers to look at, Senzo. That would be wonderful. I thought I'd finished with the roof when I got here from the Mara. I thought, thank goodness, I will never have to do this roof thing again. How wrong I was. How wrong I was. Okay. I think we're all right now. We should be able to make it. Of course, you must be careful of the roof on account of the fact that it can break your eye if you let go of the banjai by mistake. Okay. I think we're good to go. Now, those of you who are on drive today will know that Tristan did find Thandi again. She'd spent the whole night in what we assume is her den. She headed down towards Chelapan. We're going to head down that way. We might do a quick pass over the den site, but the area has now been zoned because Tristan is 99.99% sure that she was licking something inside the termite mound hole. And unless she has suddenly developed a taste for sand, well, she was probably licking a little cub, which is very exciting. Now, I'm told that Noelle has got some signal, so let's head across to her and find out what her plan is for the afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So where we are right now was where we saw the lions this morning, the Nkuhumas. I'm Noelle. Remember, this is interactive. This is Safari Live. Follow us, hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter or YouTube chat. On camera, I have Jandre. Hi, Jandre. So we come, and of course, the lions are not here because we spent all morning tracking, and then we came up, and now they've disappeared. Now, they had very full bellies, so my guesstimate was that they came, they had a drink, and then they've probably gone back to, no one knows what they've killed or where a kill is that I know of. So they've either gone back to where the kill was if it was something big, or they've just carried on. So the plan for this afternoon is to find them again. So yay, tracking time, as you know I love, and you know I love tracking lions, trailing lions. I do want to address, I had a really great question, well, they're all great questions, but I had a great question this morning about which bird takes the longest to get to adulthood And then we had a viewer, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember the name just now. It'll pop into my head. I'm guesstimating that possibly it was the ground hornbill. I didn't have an answer. I talked about a battleur. So I was a little bit off my battleur reaching adult plumage. It's 7 years, not 9 years. And it takes 9 years for the ground hornbill to reach adulthood. And then a very dear friend of mine, Nick, says that for him it would be an albatross. So there's a Lason's albatross that lived to be 66 years old, just completely, that's a long age. I mean, it's like humans, and it takes 20 years for the adult plumage in that albatross. So when I was chatting to James about this question, he would say for our area, he would have said the ground hornbill. So well done to the viewer who did that one. And then we were just also discussing, because is it reaching adult plumage or just adult shape or size? With the adult plumage, with the battleur that I was discussing, they would still mate before they reached adult plumage. So there's several variations as we discussed in that question, but I just wanted to give all of you feedback on that. All right, now, lions. Okay. We are going to meander around, see if I can pick up tracks, but while I do that, we're going to link back to James, who's busy bumbling around on the other side of Djuma, and see what he has to say.
Well, what I have is what one might term, I suppose, a peripheral character in the Safari Live story. Peripheral sounds a little mean-spirited, I think, but there it is. It is an important character and one of my favourites. The Wahlberg's eagle. Will we be able to get it, or are you just going to get Roof, Sinzel? That's it. Well done. Well done. There it is. Mr. and Mrs. Wahlberg returned to their spot here at the junction of, unsurprisingly, Wahlberg's Eagle Road and Twin Dams Roads. Whether that is Mr. or Mrs., I don't know. They're both leucistic. We don't know who's who. We did have the privilege of watching them mate last year, but they failed to raise a youngster. So it'll be very interesting to see if they manage this year. I think I've seen a little bit of movement from inside the nest, so maybe Mrs. or Mr. is doing a bit of DIY in there. You know, it is a Saturday, so perhaps they've been off to IKEA or some other such, hopefully they've been to an antique store rather, and they have, refurnished their nest with very fine antiques. Perhaps a Chesterfield sofa. I've never seen a Chesterfield sofa in a Wahlberg's eagle's nest. Anyway, we will watch them with interest as they continue their life's journey. And this is the great thing, of course, about what we do. This is now my 3rd season with these chaps. I watched them come back in 2015, and now 2016, and now 2017. Hello, Francis. You're all the way in Israel. I hope you're having a lovely day in Israel. Hope the winter's not getting you down there. I suppose probably not just yet. You say, am I missing did I miss the intimacy of Djuma? Yes, I suppose I did. In fact, looking at this animal, I'm not sure the intimacy of Djuma necessarily, but certainly our knowledge of it, because it's so much smaller than the Masai Mara. Well, we know sometimes individual trees, and we certainly know individual bird couples. We know, of course, all of our leopard characters, and sometimes we even know the buffalo that come through here, like old Taylor Lautner, who's unfortunately moved on. And so, yes, I did miss that part of things from Djuma, so I did miss the fact that I didn't know any of the characters nearly as well as I do here. Now, Dos Santos, you ask a very good question about whether these eagles pair up for life or not. And the answer is yes. they are monogamous. Now, does that mean that they are faithful to the end of their days? Will they live out their lives as widows or widowers should their partners die? I think the answer is probably not. I think they would probably move on, if you know what I mean. I think there'd probably be a short period of mourning, after which, well, they'd probably get over it and move on. But yes, they are monogamous. And that means, of course, that and they come back to the same nest every single year. So these two, both pale-form Wahlberg's eagles, come back to this nest every single year. I'm just quickly going to check here. Strong. Yeah, no, it doesn't say anything about what happens if someone dies. The other thing that's quite interesting is that, you know, unlike sort of human couples, which once the courtship phase is over, you know, they've kind of got to force themselves to go on date night and that sort of thing. I'm taking a slightly cynical view of things. It's not like that for everybody. But these eagles engage in courtship all over again. Every year before the breeding, they engage in aerial courtship, flying around each other, calling, making noise, squabbles. It's just like sort of the bloom of teenage love once more every single year. I suppose there's a lesson in that there somewhere for us. On that note, I think we will leave the Wahlberg's eagle and continue down the road. Cluck, as in chicken, cluck cluck. Right, chicken, not chicken, cluck, sorry. Cluck, you want to know if there are any birds that actively defend territories. Yes, these birds will actively defend territories. They'll chase off any intruders. Fork-tailed drongos definitely do it. Many birds will actively mark territories with either singing or kind of patrols, and they'll chase out other birds, conspecifics, and sometimes birds that aren't even from their species, from their territory, especially if they have a similar diet. So yes, there are most certainly birds that actively defend territories. I hear the call of the grey hornbill. Ah, Monique in London, the ultimate question for November, of course. Have I seen any kingfishers yet? Woodland ones? No, I haven't. Tristan saw one, he says. He didn't hear it call, though, he also says. But I do trust him completely. He saw one much earlier than we've seen them before, I think. I know yesterday when we saw them first last year, but I remember in 2015 it was 16th of November. Now Noelle is still looking for the lions. Let's go and find out if she's found some tracks or some other sign.
Alright, so I picked up a couple of tracks heading in this direction, but with the Nkuhumas, because there's a lot of youngsters, and also with it not being rainy anymore, thank goodness, for now. Here we go. They do like to play around quite a bit. So I just want to down this way. That do not have rain on top of them. Interesting. But what's also interesting is the way that they're moving is back towards where they were seen. So when we came into the sighting, I had tracks of them coming in, and then these tracks are now coming this way. So it's entirely possible that this is from a little bit earlier and there's some going out. I need to see a bit more and discuss a bit more in my head. Because it was raining, they walked, and then the rain stopped. It's a little bit warmer, it'll bake the ground a little bit. And they're up and down and around and around. So I think we need to keep circling the area. We've got more tracks coming down into here. With a pride with this many youngsters, you have to find the adult females and follow those. That's what you need. You need to find them because they're the ones that are going to walk straight and all the youngsters are going to loop around them. So let's do our loop to be able to ascertain a bit more for our puzzle pieces. So thus far, moving up and down here, moving back towards the dam, playing around. But we just need to keep our eyes open. Yes, Jandre, I feel like in the past 10 minutes it's gotten 10 degrees warmer. And it's very humid now. You were wondering if there's a pride of lions that I've spent a lot of time with that's my favorite. I don't have a current pride that's my favorite. I have 3 males who unfortunately are just 2 males now that about 4 or 5 years ago I used to work with, and I used to love tracking them on foot. They were amazing. I discussed a story with them on bushwalk where they were roaring back and forth to their dad the other day, and yeah, they were called the Medimos. They were incredible 3 boys, and then when they reached into getting their own piece of territory, one of them, we're not quite sure how he passed away, but it's possibly a fight with another lion, and they are still some of my favorites. I actually need to ask my friends who are still working there what they're doing and how they're doing. But yeah, in general, I enjoy all the different personalities from all the different prides over the years. And the Nkuhumas are new to me, so I'm looking forward to finding out more about them. Just like lions in general. Okay, all the tracks we have are all heading back, but those tracks there that we were looking at are definitely from after the rain. It would not surprise me if they're sleeping inside this drainage line. And unfortunately, the gremlins for us like this area. We've been lucky thus far. So I'm gonna do my best, as always. But with those full bellies, I don't think they're gonna be honestly moving much. I think they're probably closer than we think. But without knowing their personalities, you know, everything's a bit of a toss-up. So again, while I'm busy scratching about, let's head back to James and see what he has for us.
I've got a termite mound. Isn't that exciting? Beautiful. Ah, surprise. On top of the termite mound is a mangusta. Mungo, I think it's called. I don't know why I've never told you that before. It has the most wonderful Latin name. Mungos mungo, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check that for you. It's I'm not going to tell you the obvious facts about it. I'm going to make a concerted effort not to tell you any obvious facts about anything ever again. Good luck, says Kirsten from the sort of sardonic red-headed final control this afternoon. Fiery control, yes, exactly. Bless you, Senzo. Senzo just had a sneeze, everybody. I'm sure you'll join me in blessing him. No, it's changed. It's not Mungo or Mungos Mungo. Maybe that's the other one. I'll check. It's Hello Gale Parvula. That's extremely unexciting indeed. What am I thinking of? Is it the banded, perhaps? It's the banded mongoose, which is Mungos Mungo. Now, there are plenty of Mungos Mungo in the Masai Mara, and they're bigger than the Mungos Mungo that we get over here, a bit like the impala are bigger than the Apcerus melampus we get over here. Now, this little fellow is alarm calling at something, and we are in the vicinity that... Oh no, there's a nyala. We're in the vicinity that Tristan saw Tundi coming down towards this morning. But this little fellow is alarm calling. That little cheeping noise he's making is an alarm call. I'm just seeing a nyala walk gently around the front. Doesn't look too alarmed or terrified by anything. But maybe Tundi's just wandered up through here. Isn't he sweet? He seems to be watching the nyala. I don't think he's watching anything else. Thank you, Kathy. You say you have a fact for me regarding the dwarf mongoose there. The dwarf mongoose, whose Latin name I've already forgotten, Helogale parvula. You say that they are cute. They are indeed very cute, Helogale parvula. What's also interesting is that sort of flecking of pale copper on the back of them. Sorry, we've got a question coming in from someone called Hoorigness. Is that cannot be correct? Smoothness. Oh, smoothness. You say, are they in the same family as the weasels? They're in the same order, the order Carnivora. They're not in the same family. The family that they belong to is... What are you... Let's just sit right here, see what's going on. The Herpestidae is the family that the mongoose belong to, and the weasels belong to their own family, and I've forgotten what it is. I'll just quickly check. I think... Well, we've got the African striped weasel and the polecats and the badgers and the otters belong to the Mustelidae. But whether that's the same as a European or American weasel, I'm not sure. It might be. Jasmine, you want to know how big they grow to be, and of course that is a very good question, given that they are called dwarf mongoose and you have got a full screen full of one, so it's very difficult to tell how big they actually are. I mean, that thing could be the size of an elephant for all you know. It is the size of a large rat. Well, I mean, if you found a rat that big, you'd be pretty scared of it, but it's basically the size of a large rat. And although it is the size of a large rat, it is not related to a rodent, for example. They're in a completely different order, so they're another taxonomic level apart from the rodents. In the same way, I think often this is a bit confusing for some people. So they're about as closely related to rodents as we are to rodents, for example. So they're much more closely related to cats and dogs and hyenas and weasels and badgers, if you like, than they are to rats. But they're the size of a large rat. Now they're having a bit of a play on the top of that mound, or top of that log there. See, now, you want to know if they're very flexible. Well, they're certainly more flexible than I am and most people I know. you know, all of these carnivores have got tremendously supple spines and back legs. I mean, I don't know that they'd be any more supple than a sort of lithe house cat. If you have ever stroked a house cat or watched a house cat move, you can see that they are tremendously supple in comparison with us. I think they would be about the same, these chaps. I'm not sure that they'd be any more supple than your house cat. I'll check next time I'm in the Eastern Cape with my mother's cat. I'll see how supple she is. Sorry, wait, this is wonderful. I've just got the Game Drive radio now blethering in my... Right, okay. We have a Kipling quote from someone whose name sounds like Brunhilde, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't that either. Ludmilla. Okay, so a Kipling quote from the Jungle Book. Apparently the family of mongoose has the motto, run and find out. And you, Ludmilla, you reckon that this perfectly sums up their personalities. Yeah, I think it does. I think they do quite a lot of running and finding out, but then they do quite a lot of running away. If you're only that size, then, well, you've got to get out of there every time a potential threat shows itself. Okay, let's go and see if we can't spot what it was shouting at earlier. I may have mistaken that squeak for a contact call rather than an alarm call. That is entirely possible, much as it pains me to admit it. And there's the Nyala. We'll just get around this corner and have a look at them. I haven't stopped and looked at Nyalas for some time. Is that alright? Back a bit, huh? Yeah? Oh. Beautiful. Wonderful shot that there, Vinyala. Fantastic. Let's go forward a bit. Alright. I must excuse this pole, everybody. Well, I'm not excusing the pole, I'm excusing the fact that the pole is on the car. It is because of the inclement weather, and I was going to take the cover off, but it started to spit before we left. And that is why you're going to find a black stripe in the middle of your screen from time to time. So I do apologize for that. And to my mind, our most magnificent antelope, the Nyala. For me, my favourite out here. In the Mara, of course, it was the Dobi. Just a wash of amazing colours. He's doing his very, very best to make your life hard, isn't he, Senzo? Mm-hmm. Right. And if I'm correct, Senzo, I mean, you can tell me if you know this or not, but in Zulu, Nyala is Inyala, yeah, right? Yeah. And that's quite interesting because it's a word that has been taken straight from the vernacular. It's been taken straight from a local language, which many of these words that we use now haven't. For example, Nyala is a... While I think about it, let's go across to Noel and I will tell you when you get back.
Okay, so we got the tracks. Yay! They're heading this direction. Yay! Jandre and I have a bet for apple juice. My bet is that they're not far from those tracks inside the block. Jandre's bet is that they've crossed Cheetah Cut line. So I don't know if you all want to get in on this bet with us. Yeah, I'm pretty confident, I'm not gonna lie. But Jandre's worked in this area longer than I have. Okay, so we're gonna go down. Jandre, what do you think? 200 meters?
To the next intersection.
To the next, oh, Jandre. Jandre. Alright. The other thing is where those tracks went off, it's hard to get the car in there. So we actually do need to come in from this angle once we get into the block and find them. Okay, let's go down. So Jeandre, you're basing your assumption on what? Jeandre is basing his assumption on general direction. I'm basing my assumption on full bellies. You should see Jeandre's face right now. he really wants to win this. K and P think that I'm gonna win. Thank you, darlings. I like my odds as well. Sorry, Jeandre. Ooh, Monique, you're wondering if I've seen any of the Birmingham boys yet. No, I haven't, and I cannot wait. I love male lions. Ugh, look, I love everything. But yeah. No, I haven't. I'm looking forward to it. I have a feeling that the two sets of tracks that we were tracking this morning were from them, but I have not confirmed that with Tristan yet, and I need to do that. Jeandre, there's no lion tracks here. We've gone a little bit far. Jeandre's just shaking his head. Dina says what, Chris? Kirst? Dina, you think they went to the cut line. Alright, Jeandre, you have one. I have one. Really nice rhino tracks. There's a Steenbok. There's no lions. Alright. Penduka Fambanzao. And then we're gonna head into the block and go and investigate inside. Sorry, as you can see, I get super excited with the tracking of the lions, with the anticipation, because when we find them, it is the best feeling in the whole world. It's like a game. I've had many people ask, why don't we microchip? Why don't we fly a drone to follow the animals around? Look, if you fly a drone, the animals also need to be able to go to places that, without being found when they don't want to. But this, as a guide, and also the trackers I've worked with, this is one of the points of why we do what we do, is because this is intoxicating, it's addictive, it's, I don't even know how to describe it. Something that you get super excited about with anticipation, and then also being able to apply skills that you've been honing and you're still working on them year after year after year is too much fun. Well, look, everything in the bush is fun, but this, for me, is beyond. Oh, I wanted to give an update as well. My friend that went to his seniors, he got a 97%, so he's almost there. And then his two colleagues both got 100, so congrats to those guys. I'm super proud of all of you. I'm sure the next seniors will be in a few months, and then we will keep you updated on those. Jeandre, I'm guesstimating here. Alright, let's head over to James, who's bumbling about, and see what he's up to, and then we will keep up our search from this side.
I have found two impala walking here. They are both very pregnant, surely about to produce their little babies, which will be very sweet. They look quite healthy, but they have not benefited hugely from any great spring flush, because there hasn't been one just yet. But I think after the rain we had last night, I'm going to guess, we did not measure it, but I'm going to guess it was sitting at around 15 millimeters. I think it was a good rain. And that will definitely, when the sun comes out, result in a beautiful explosion of insects and hopefully lots of green grass for the mothers that will soon need a lot of nutrition to feed their little babies. Just keep it close in the sensor on one of their bellies, either of them, doesn't matter. But Jamie managed to find last year a shot of the baby kicking inside the mother, and it's around about this time of year that you'd expect that to happen. Let's just watch there. Look, there it is. I'm sure that's movement of the fetus there. Katya, you're wondering about how the early rainy season's going. I'm not sure what you mean, Katya. Let's just have your question once more. Let me think about it carefully. Oh, we don't know if there's a risk of drought, Katja. You want to know if there is a risk of drought? I mean, I guess there's always a risk of drought. No one can predict the weather, especially not down here. And most of Africa is very difficult to predict what's going on. And last year they said there's a 51% chance of there being a cyclone. Now, I mean, even without sophisticated models, I could have said you may have a cyclone, you may not have a cyclone. We would have got the same odds. So it's very difficult to predict the weather out here. I don't think that there is a drought predicted. There isn't a drought predicted for this year, but we don't know for sure what will happen. The rainfall here is only about, in a really good year, about 550 or so millimeters, which is just over 2 inches. And last year I don't know what it was actually. I'm not sure what the rain. It was about average last year, I think, come the end of the summertime. It's seldom that we have two dreadfully dry summers in a row. The summer of 2015 was pretty bad. Alrighty, we're going to go across Vuyatela Dam and down towards Treehouse Dam, hoping to see if we can maybe now find Shadow's cub that was found around there yesterday. We went past Tundi's den, nobody there, we didn't hang around. It's going to be best to take off all pressure from her. We didn't go off the road to see if she was perhaps behind the termite mound or something like that. We just looked from the road. Oh, Noel had a common sandpiper around here this morning. It seems naturally enough to have disappeared. How very sad. There's some more impala up ahead. Maybe they have another baby with them. Hold on, Senzo, we're going up this steep incline. Now, I must just reiterate, and I said that when I got back from the Mara, I would apologize to Jigger, Wendy, and Rusty for ever having cast aspersions on their characters, on their soundness for the job that we do with them, because, of course, of the Mila, Quito, and Paka up in the Mara. Unquestionably, 3 vehicles past their sell-by date, past their trashing, past their scrap date as far as I'm concerned. These now, I shall never ever cast aspersions on any longer. The smoothness of the engine. I've even got quite fond of the fact that the car steers itself any way it goes. At least it steers, you know. These are the benefits. I don't see any lambs amongst that lot, so let's go back onto quarantine. Still no internet as far as I'm aware in the Mara, and that's why they're struggling to broadcast from there, I'm afraid. I'm not sure what the problem is. Paula, you're wondering about gestation period and how long an impala is pregnant for. They are pregnant for 6.5 months or so. Now it's quite interesting. If an animal has got a similar lifestyle, you can predict its gestation period based on its mass. Normally, in the antelope species, that's definitely the case. For example, a impala has got a 6.5 month gestation period, weighs between, well, a female probably about 50 kilograms or so, and that's 110 pounds. And then if you go up to something the size of a kudu, which is, well, a big male kudu will weigh in at around 270 to 300 kilograms, a female probably around 200 kilos. Their gestation period, if I'm not mistaken, sits at around 9 months, but like ours. And so although they're much heavier than us, of course, their lifestyle is totally different from ours, but very similar to an impala's, and so you can predict their gestation period from their mass, just about. Forget what I think a baboon's gestation period is about 6 months or so. Sorry, 1 second. We've actually got to be very careful of going down there. I think we'll lose signal. So what we'll do is we'll go around this corner so that Senzo can do himself a time lapse. He has to do 10 seconds of time lapse here every day. Do you know, you want to know if the pregnant impala will stick together during the birth? Yes, they will, absolutely. They live in little nursery herds, and certainly the fact that they synchronize their birthing more or less within 2 weeks of each other means that there is safety in numbers. There's safety in numbers from the point of view of more eyes and ears to see what's coming to get you, but also there's safety in flooding the market, as it were. So that's a bit macabre. You know, many of them will lose their lives in their first year. In fact, there's some steenbokkies. Let's just have a look at those. Those are not impala lambs. Many impala lambs will lose their lives. What's happened to the picture there? Oh, there we are. Will lose their lives in their first years, but because they are all synchronized, many of them will survive, and certainly far more make it to adulthood than don't. Otherwise the population would not be expanding. I suppose it's pretty constant at the moment, so maybe about 50% of them get whacked. That steenbok is either agreeing with me vigorously or scratching itself. Is that a nice picture? The colours there of the chestnut antelope and the pale, what would you call it? I suppose it's grey grass almost. Kirsten says beige grass. Beige is such a I don't know, unattractive word. Looking for its partner, that's the little ram. And they too will have some babies, but much less seasonally, of course, than the impala. And rather like the Wahlberg's eagle, they are monogamous. And also very flexible, but nothing like as flexible as something like that mongoose. He looks like he's having a very sort of carefree day, really. Oh, he's going to relieve himself for us. For those of you who are new viewers, perhaps this is the effect that I have on animals. Whenever we look at them, they tend to relieve themselves. Sinak, you're wondering if both male and female steenbok have horns. The answer is no, they don't. Only the females, only the males have got horns. Now look at this. This is very interesting behavior, actually. It's seldom you see this. Steenbok bury their dung. That's what he's doing there. And they bury it in order to reduce the evidence of their presence, we think. But they don't always bury it if they're on the outside of their territory. So if they're on the perimeter of the territory, then they will leave it exposed as a marker. but in the middle of the territory they will bury it in order to hide their presence, which I think is fascinating, and I don't know of any other antelope that does that. This chap is being tremendously confiding. And you know what? As the wind, or very gentle breeze, has dropped, so my very favourite summer sound has begun. Very subtly. And that's cicadas. Cicadas are my favourite summer sound. Mario, you want to know if that's an adult steenbok? It is absolutely an adult steenbok. It's not much bigger than an impala lamb, roughly the same size actually, and it is fully grown. The smallest antelope we get here. Oh, I saw, you know what, when I was on leave in the Eastern Cape, I saw a little blue duiker. We get blue duiker down there, and I saw a baby one being hunted, can you believe it, by a water mongoose. A grey mongoose. Now the little antelope was this big. It was the size, when I saw it I thought it must be a rodent of some sort. It was a little antelope that big, and the mongoose was about that big. So I have to tell you, I'm afraid, I chased the mongoose away because I didn't want to see such a small thing be killed. Sorry. Alright, let's move on from here. That was on the golf course, by the way. The one advantage of being able to, or being unable to hit a golf ball straight if you're on a nice golf course, is that you get to spend a lot of time in the wilderness. And you see things like that little duiker being hunted by the grey mongoose while searching for your ball. Now, what Senzo is doing here, I'm sure it has been explained to you, but he is doing laps, and every single day he has to come down here for how long? 10 seconds. Taken 10 seconds at a time. Now, will you please put the camera on there so that everyone can watch you? Yeah, you didn't know you were going to be filming yourself, did you? But you are. I suppose I could just turn. Hang on, never mind. Let me just turn properly. There we go. Okay. Senzo will now go behind that tree. He will attach the camera to the tree for exactly 10 seconds, and then he will return. The point of this is that at the end of it all, we will have a camera angle from exactly the same position as the season has progressed, and we'll be able to do a time lapse, hopefully. We've always wanted to do this, and we'll be able to do a time lapse of this changing landscape as the season has changed. Now he has to count to 10. See, he has to hide behind there, hide behind the tree, and he's ready now. Okay, so while he goes and retrieves the camera, we'll go across to Noelle and find out if she's found her lions.
And we have not quite found our lions yet. We've got Aubrey working with us. He's on foot with his tracker. So great for us, because when the two of them are on foot, it can sometimes make it easier, especially in a scenario like this, where with the type of soil that's here in the ground, we really need to be looking more closely. So we've done a little loop. We're still on bets. We're actually on double or nothing bets at the moment. Did you spy with your little eye, Gendre? There might be a lion log. Let's check out your lion log, Gendre. So the double or nothing bets have said in this little triangle, they're here in this little block. Now, many of our older viewers will know what a block is. Our newer viewers are not necessarily going to know what a block is. A block is the space of bush, like what we're doing right now, that's in between. So you cordon off a block. We've cordoned off 2/3 of a block, but just because we're busy trying to figure out. Gendre, do you want me to head this way? To figure out where these cheeky, sneaky lions went to. No. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Aubrey and his Lanza, his tracker, work their magic. We're going to check Gendre's other idea. There's a link road for just in case. And one of the reasons why I'm choosing to do that is that you don't want to put guys on foot and have your vehicle and then somehow end up in a scenario where there's lions or whatever you're tracking in between people on foot and your vehicle. It's just not the best. So we'll give them a little bit of space to work. It's also nice for their guests to be able to experience their guide and their tracker doing what they're doing. It's an amazing experience. So let's do that then and come around. There's also just the big possibility that I've missed something, which can happen. No one's perfect. And we will go and look over here. Alright everybody, don't forget, we are live, we are interactive. You can send us questions, #SafariLive on the Twitter or the YouTube chat. And we love to hear what you have to say or answer anything that you might want to know to the best of our ability. I'm going to laugh really hard if we come back to the dam and they're back at the dam and have just given us the runaround. I've had that happen. I spent 3 hours, so an entire game drive, tracking lions. It happens every now and then, but this was about 4 years ago. And we knew they were right there, my tracker and I, and they just wouldn't pop up. We stopped for what was then moonrisers rather than sundowners, and as we get going, we come maybe 50 meters around the corner and they're all lying in the road. So, and it happens. Okay, we might go through a little bit of a dip. Zandy, you're curious about how many lions are in this area. Look, Zandy, as far as I understand, and I'm new to the area, but as far as I understand, we have a couple of different prides that traverse our area. The territories have junction points. So we do see the sticks, we do see the sticks. We see the Nkuhumas. We've got the Birmingham males that come through. But viewers who have been with us for a little while, maybe you can better answer for me. Tristan and I used to work together several years ago, and I was asking if that pride, I can't think of the name just now, if that pride was still around, but they've broken up and headed more south. More lion tracks. All right, Gendre, I think you you might win this bet. Boo. But they look a little bit older than what we were following now. And it looks like one of the sub-adults. Moving off this way. Okay. Let us keep looking. Oh, there was a question earlier about favorite prides of lions that I'd worked with. There's a pride that I never, or a coalition of males rather, that I've never had a chance to work with. They've disbanded for the most part. The Mapojos. I would have loved to have been able to see the Mapojos in action. I believe it was 7 at one point, male lions, and they were boss in this area. They just got up to some heavy Gendre. Heavy action, killing other lions, even being seen eating other lions. Yeah, exactly, Gendre. We've got, it's not the whole pride here, but it's definitely part of the pride that's here. There they are. Gendre, you win! They're within 50 meters of the road. Gendre wins. Aubrey, Noel, Aubrey. Aubrey, Noel, Aubrey. Tell me when you're Gendre. Okay, so when we did our double or nothing bet, mine was that they were in that block, and then I said to Gendre, they have to be within 50 meters of that road you want to go down. They are exactly within 50 meters of that road that Gendre wanted to go down. I owe Gendre 2 cases of apple juice. Oh my goodness. Well called on the gut instinct, my friend. Well called. Yeah, fist pump. Sorry, guys. Give me 2 minutes. I just want to call Aubrey. He's busy on foot, just so he can get here with his guest. Aubrey, Noel, Aubrey. Oh. Stations I've relocated in Nkuhuma's. Sorry, the road name is escaping me now, but the road that bisects from Chitwa Cut Line to the eastern side of Biffleshoek Dam, south of Biffleshoek Dam East. They're 50 meters off the Ntlela 5-5 visual space for 3. Aubrey is on foot, so one of these spaces needs to be for him. And then there was a Jacobin vehicle that was with me as well, if the two of you want to make your way. Yeah, please, you must come. The visuals look, they're flat cat, but it's good. Okay, so back to you, Safari viewers. So, sorry, you can take standby 1. Aubrey's on foot. I want to give him one of these spots. He's been tracking with me, so take standby 1 and take control, please. And then I just need to be off the radio for a bit, if you guys wouldn't mind updating Aubrey when he's back in his vehicle. All right, so, sorry guys, I want to turn off my Game Drive channel so I can talk to you. All right, so with them, this is super interesting. You can see with this one that's rolling around his fat little belly, they have walked a zigzag, and that zigzag probably accounts to about 800 meters. But if they just walked straight, it was probably be, what do you think, Gendre, 400 meters? Yeah. So I was hoping that they were going to go back to whatever kill they had, but it looks like our first assumption from earlier in the morning where they finished off and then moved on is more correct, because I cannot see the flies. I cannot see or smell anything in the vicinity. And so they went and drank, moved off, and then remember earlier in the show I was saying, yes, but it got like 10 degrees warmer within 20 minutes of the show starting, so they probably decided, ugh, it's enough, let's lie down and have a rest. And Gendre, I also have to say how excited I am that we tracked something and we have it. It didn't elude us this time. Oh, you can see the paws there perfectly. Thanks, Gendre. So you can see what we were talking about. We were tracking. You can see, no, man, don't cover up your paw. Well, you could before she moved. You've got the 4 toes, and then you had the 3 pads on the bottom. You can just see the corner pad there. And the tracks we were following now, the ones that we finally got, and then we were circling the block, were fresh. I think the last Game Drive vehicle to see them saw them around 12 o'clock. So I think they moved within the past, my guesstimate would be the past hour or so. And because it's an overcast day, and even with full bellies, we might get quite a bit of movement out of them. So I think that we're going to stay here and see what they get up to. Because again, in my experience, I've been with lions like this who have been sleeping and something's come close enough and they've gone into hunting mode. And because we have just a small portion of their territory and we don't always get to see the Nkuhumas, I think Tristan said to me this morning the last time we saw them was maybe 2 or 3 months ago. But viewers, you could triple check that for me. This is special and fun. Can you see how this little one's breathing? And it's very quick. He's hot. Monique, you're asking if I can do a head count of all the adult lions. Currently, right now, Monique, I can see 3 adult lionesses. There's 1. And then 2 there in the middle of the screen on the right. And then 3 is... That is a sub-adult. Yeah, sub-adult male. There we go. And then if we come down, straight down from her, Gendre, there. I see 3. But there is a sub-adult male and what looks like possibly a sub-adult female. I would need her to move around. I know that we were being asked this morning to see if there was one with a wound. So Monique, I'm assuming you're asking for the count because you would like to know who's who in the zoo with this pride currently. Is there some information that you wanted to know from a past sighting or checking up on one of the adult females? And should there be 3 females, let me know. Or should there be more? Let me know. There was a rumor that I heard that one of the females gave birth on Elephant Plains. So if she did, this was only about a week or so ago, she wouldn't be with this pride right now. She would be with her bubbas. This is going to sound ridiculous, but you do just want to go tickle her chin. Marius, you're wondering if there's any males with the pride. So male lions are sometimes on their own and sometimes they form coalitions, but they'll have more than one pride. A pride dictates females and youngsters. That's a pride of lions. And then males form coalitions and can have one pride that they service, or they can have 5 prides that they service. It depends on the area that they traverse and their territory. From what I can understand, and I can be corrected on this, so please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Birmingham males service this pride as well as the Sticks, and I believe there's one other pride, but that the Sticks and also the Nkuhumas possibly have other parts of their territories that could be serviced by other males. But that's something I need to do a bit more research on. I'm still getting my legs here at Safari Live. Guiding is guiding wherever you are, but this type of guiding and viewing with you all is a little bit different from what I'm used to. So we have a lot of technical things I've been going over, and I'm getting that slowly under my belt. And then once that is done, I'm going to be delving deeply into the leopard ID kits as well as the lion ID kits and genealogy, just to get a better grasp of the area and the history of those 2 particular species in this area. Okay, so Monique, you're saying that there are 5 adult lionesses that are usually with Nkuhumas, and the eldest one had a bad injury on her hip, and you want to know how she's doing. Monique, I have a feeling that lioness, from what I can see right now, is possibly not here, but don't hold that 100% because I actually need the lionesses to move. So from what I can see, we're missing 2 adult lionesses. So one of them possibly is the one that possibly dropped cubs. I still need a confirmation fully on that one. And then that other one possibly with the hip injury. But Monique, just to put you at rest, I've worked with 5 different female lions who have done something specifically to back legs, some of them which have not been able to use one of their back legs, that they've atrophied so bad, who still give birth to cubs, who still see those cubs to adulthood, who still take down full-grown zebra and help their prides take down buffalo, no problem. So that type of injury is an injury that a lioness can deal with. So just to put your heart at ease, I don't think you should worry too much about it. I do know that there's sometimes a type of tick bite that some lions will get that shuts it's not Lyme disease, we don't get Lyme disease here, but shuts down their bodies. That's, for me, has only been confirmed I've only read one paper. It's only been confirmed with one young male lion north of us. I would need to do a bit more research on that. But Monique, thanks for getting back to me. That was great. All right, let's go to James for an update while we sit with our lazy lions swatting at flies.
Well, here we are, back on quarantine, looking at some mpangele, some guinea fowl. We're on our way home, I'm afraid. Senzo and I have had enough of the day. We're going to go and have a drink and enjoy a rugby match. I am talking rubbish, of course. We are going back to fix something on the car. Jared, technical genius of Alaska, has figured something is wrong here, and so we'll hopefully be up and running with a greater traversing area with signal in the next little while. But we have a little bit of signal now, so we'll sit here and look at these rather magnificent and oddly shaped birds, the helmeted guinea fowl. And they're called helmeted, of course, Senzo, because they have got on their heads helmets, exactly. It's just getting a little bit chilly at the moment. Let's find something particularly interesting to tell you about them. Aren't they fantastic looking creatures? You know, they grow them all over the world for food. I personally think that their food is, at least their meat is very stringy and not very nice. But I remember when I was a guide, people used to love it when the chefs came and said, "We've got guinea fowl stew today." And I would always roll my eyes into the back of my head, and all the guests would look very excited. Joy, you want to know why they're called guinea fowl? Thank you for asking me a question that I have absolutely no idea how to answer. Let me have a look and see if I can't find out for you. Fowl, of course, because they are like an edible fowl, like a chicken or a goose or a duck. They are edible. Guinea fowl? Guinea. I don't know. It's a really interesting. I mean, it seems like such an obvious question, but I'm afraid I just don't know. Let's try and find out why they're called guinea fowl. I can tell you that they're called impangele in Zulu. That's in Zulu, but they don't seem to have. Oh, they do have a Xitsonga name. It's the same thing. It's impangele as well. No, that's Nkosa. I don't think we have a Xitsonga name. No, not in this book, but there is one, and I know what it is. Yeah, the Shangaan word is, oh dear, it's departed my brain, I'm afraid. I'll figure it out. Yeah, I can't find any information on why it's called guinea fowl, but that's really interesting. Interesting, they too are monogamous. We've been talking about monogamous pairs of animals today, and they are monogamous. They nest just under little thickets, and there you might find an egg, and I'm actually quite interested in the size of the egg. Let me see if I can find the size of the egg, because we saw, Stenzo and I, while we were doing the second time lapse today, a very large egg underneath a bush, but it looked like something the size of a goose egg. Yeah, no, much smaller than the one we saw. Alrighty, let us move on from our guinea fowl. Right, so the domesticated version of the bird was apparently called a guinea fowl, mainly because its originator came from the Guinea coast of Africa, and that is why they are called guinea fowl. Yes, of West Africa, that is where Guinea is, after all. Good. Good. Thank you very much for that. So they were obviously kidnapped fairly early on during the sort of colonization period of Africa. And Europeans, along with many other things, nicked some guinea fowl, bred them, and that's obviously how they got around the world. And that's why they're called guinea fowl. That's very interesting. Why on earth they would have been exported as a foodstuff, I'm not sure. Alright, let's go back to the flat ninkapumas. I will see you later with a new amplifier.
So Monique, here we go. The one lioness that was closest to us has turned over, and this is the lioness that you were looking for, the one that you said was the eldest with the hip injury. Now Monique, what I want you to notice is, well, a couple of things. One, they've obviously been walking, and they've walked quite a distance through last night, so she's fine with walking. And they've killed and eaten because they're full. But that pink color of the wound on the back is a good sign. It does not look inflamed. It does not look infected. It just looks like a big ana, a big owie. But she's fine. Trust me, lionesses are amazingly resilient. Amazingly resilient. So for us as a human, I think that we would be having complete convulsions and issues, and in and out of the hospital. But I mean, that color that you're seeing there and around the edges, that is a healthy piece of wound that is that has healed quite properly. It just hasn't formed new skin. It'll probably callus over. I really don't want you to worry too much about it. She's good. She's definitely good. She also you can see her condition is fine. Yeah, it's not like she's thin. You would be able to see, look, I know it's difficult because there's a tree trunk in the way, but look, I mean, her condition around her head, around her neck, around her stomach, around her forelimbs is all very good. And when we were looking at the wound just now, you would have seen a bit more, if there was a huge issue, a bit more of the atrophy occurring if it had caused a lot of problems for any reason. So we're good. So that means then, Monique, that we are still missing our 2 adult lionesses. So it's a lot of the times within a pride, adult lionesses will go into estrus. They'll go into mating cycles together, and will drop cubs together. So I will ask Tristan when I get home about what's happening outside, if he's heard more, if it really is just a rumor, is it something that's actually happening, and we'll just have to wait and see. We've had that great update with Tundi and her den site this side, which is now going to be a closed area. We're not going to go there for a while. We usually don't go there, if I'm remembering correctly, for the first couple of months, sometimes up to 3 months, depending on whether or not she brings them out to us, etc., etc. So we've confirmed that Tundi has dropped and she's suckling, but now we're going to leave her in peace and leave her to keep up with her cubs and nourish her cubs, and we'll keep you monitored as best as we can. Lovely Lori, you're asking, if a lioness were to pass away, would the pride eat her? This is a really interesting question for many reasons. I have seen lions cannibalize each other on 2 occasions personally. I've heard of another sort of 4 occasions. In general, the answer would be no. So the occasion, one of the main occasions that comes to my mind is a pride that formed of sub-adults that were about 1.5 years old, that were kicked out of their pride too young and were not adept at hunting. And they killed an impala for us and then disappeared for a few days, and then we had huge hyena activity and vulture activity, and we got there and one brother was eating the other brother. So the other brother had died, and the brother that was eating him was so starving that that's what he was doing. Cannibalism with lions the frequency is similar to cannibalism with humans. It happens from time to time, but it's sort of taboo. It's not something that works a lot. What I was talking about the Mapojos earlier, when they were killing and eating other lions, that had to do with a huge testosterone dominance display, but that's sort of mob, that would be similar to mob mentality with humans, and humans doing what we would consider despicable things, but in a mob mentality. Now, when it comes to other lionesses, my very dear friend that used to work in the Klasiri, which is north of us, had a situation where there was a female who gave birth to cubs, and then she brought them out from the den at about 3 months old and brought them into the Pride, and there was an old, very sick lioness that they would leave behind when they would go hunting, and then they noticed every time they came back there was a cub missing. And then my friend actually caught, once on game drive, caught this elderly lioness going to where the mum had left the cubs with her, and killing and eating them. So there was, for us, obviously, I say, something maybe that had just gone wrong in our head in her elderly age. That was the situation that, or the conclusion rather, that we came up with. But in general, no, it's not something. They would sort of leave her, and then the hyenas would come and take care of it. Possibly leopard, but usually leopard just kill and eat the lion cubs. I haven't heard too many scenarios where they're going to eat a larger lion. It's usually the hyenas. And then, of course, all the insects that come, etc., etc. Look at that one that's hugging that tree, Gendre. Lions. Any comfortable position they can affect. Spectra, I believe you're asking, are their tails like paintbrushes with a tuft at the end? Is that correct, Kirst? Why are they like that? Good question. We had a question yesterday afternoon when we were with Shadow's juvenile, the youngster, that was around why do the inside of their ears and the backside of the ears not have the rosettes? They're differently camouflaged. It's around the same sort of idea. What you're seeing with a tail like this is that it has more to do with camouflage and also movement within the pride structure. Sorry guys, just hold on 1 second. I'm going to let these guys move out the way. There we go, there's another version of the tail. So a lot of the times what you'll see, unfortunately there's not one that's really lying where I can do it. When lions are hunting and they're staging themselves, you can picture it sort of like a play on a sports field where there's a sporting event where there's several people in a team that are playing. So they'll position themselves, and it's actually the back end of their fur here has a darker hue, the back of their ears has a little bit of black, and then the tail has a little bit of black. So it's a contrast looking into a grassy area, especially grass that is during the winter and is lightly colored. It helps the other females and or males pick them out. The other thought behind the way that it looks is that when they walk and they curl it up like this, that it's something for the cubs to follow. But in general, follow me signals are an idea that we've come up with. So that's the best answer I can possibly think of, but I think if you want to come up with an answer yourself, it'll probably work just as well. It's like asking, like I said yesterday, it's like asking, why does a water buck have a white ring on the bum? You can come up with anything. Follow me signal is a very bland way of saying why it's there. I would differ and just come up with the fact that kind of it is what it is. But that's just me. Jasmine, you're wondering, do lions and or big cats purr like domestic cats? Lions and leopards don't purr, but cheetah purr. Lions and leopards have a movable voice box. Cheetah have a fixed one. So they have more similar sounds to a domestic cat than the lion or leopard. But also, that being said, there are some gurring noises. Chandra, what's another version of a gur? Can we come up with a word for a gur? Yeah, Jean's rolling. I can't roll my R's and making a grr noise. That will be similar to when a hiss and things like that will be similar to a domesticated cat. But in general, cheetahs have more of the similar vocal range to the domesticated cats as opposed to lion and leopard. Taylin, you're wondering if one lion within a group stays awake to keep watch? No. Lions know they're the biggest, baddest thing out there. They know that they're lions, and lions have big egos. I'll put it to you that way. If these cubs or sub-adults were actual cubs and a lot smaller, the mums might be a little more alert, but in general, yeah, they're very comfortable in their own skin. There's no self-esteem issues there. They've got huge egos. Cheetah, you'll see with coalitions of cheetah, there's always one from the coalition that's always popping up and looking around constantly. But they're, of the apex predators, the top predators, they're at the bottom. They're even under wild dog. So no, lions. I've watched a male lion in particular so deep in sleep that it took a rhino being 3 meters from him and huffing for him to finally wake up, and he was so freaked out when he woke up. He literally jumped and landed all on fours and then crouched down and looked at this rhino with the biggest eyes you've ever seen, and then went, "Oh, I didn't do anything, I'm fine, I'm a lion," and sort of half-screamed himself and then walked off to repair his slightly bruised ego. No, lion, yeah. They're out for the count, especially the adults. I mean, you can see that one adult that's lying sort of in the middle and to the left. She's stretched a little bit, but she doesn't. And it's interesting as well, because they're so comfortable, all the youngsters are so comfortable, so they're going to grow up. This current generation is going to teach this younger generation that to have large egos and to be very self-assured. I guess we as humans could learn a lot from lions in that respect, being comfortable in your own abilities and in your own bodies and running with it. This is a horrible thought, but I would really like some sort of wildebeest to sort of come past and just get them a little bit excited. Deadhead Tom, you're wondering if a male left a pride. So Deadhead Tom, I'm going to assume you mean a male that's starting to reach adulthood and is being kicked out from other males. I'm going to go with that line. Would a sibling ever go with them? And yes, I've seen that happen. I've seen prides fraction. I've seen a male and his 3 sisters, all from the same pride, who were just very, very close when the older males who serviced the pride females came through and pushed them out. They all just sort of went together. There's a really interesting documentary you all must watch called Ultimate Enemies, where the super pride that occurred up in Botswana, and I want to say Savuti, but I could be wrong on that used to take down full-grown elephants. They started off as sub-adults that were kicked away, that were males and females left together, and then other males joined in, and then they had cubs, and at one point I think they were close to 30 in number. It's super interesting. It's a really, really good film. Alright, so James is still fixing his vehicle. The Mara has no Wi-Fi. This whole Wi-Fi in the bush thing still astounds me. So when I started guiding, you would never go to a lodge and expect internet. And now it's almost, you have to have it. And I was also just noticing with myself the other day, my smartphone, which I'm not very smart with, it's smarter than I am, was giving me problems, and I was having small heart palpitations because, oh my goodness, how are people going to get a hold of me? And then I just realized I went through most of my life without Wi-Fi, without this smartphone. I will be okay. So it's interesting that way. That being said, however, for us to be able to do this amazing show that we do for you all, we need that technology. And so to me, it's also amazing that the technology has reached a point where we are able to do this type of program. It flabbergasts me does flabbergast me. It's very interesting. Alright everybody, I'm inclined to stay here. I know we're the only feed coming out at the moment. Cody, age 15, is wondering what is my most memorable safari experience. Cody, I'm going to have a think on that. Just stand by one. So we're the only feed out right now. James is busy working on it, but I would really like to stay with the sleeping lions unless everyone's really adverse to it. I think we've got a good quality cat sighting going on. And Cody, with that being said, my most memorable... Cody, the one that pops into my head is actually not about lions and or walking. It's about an experience that I had when I was working up in the north central part of South Africa, just under Botswana. We were busy tracking wild dogs with the vehicles. I was freelancing for a lodge that didn't use trackers, so the bonnet is similar to this, where there's no tracker seat on the left-hand side. We got the wild dogs with 2 other vehicles, and we're busy following them, and it was a pack of about 14 to 15, and they kept splitting, so I stuck with 6 or 7 of them, and they are chasing impala, and they are hammering, and they are hammering, and they're going, and I can see them starting to herd this impala like this, so I stopped with the vehicle like this, and as I do that, they come from about 100 meters off, chasing this impala towards us. This impala gets towards my vehicle, jumps over the bonnet, literally from here, from the right-hand tire, jumps over the bonnet. The wild dogs calculate this within half a second, maybe less, and rush around to the left side tire and catch her before she even hits the ground and eat her right there. I couldn't even see them eating. All of my guests were sort of smushed onto the left side of the car. I couldn't take any photos because she was right there. That right now, that's popping into my head, has to be one of my most memorable experiences. Wild dogs hunting and how they function and how quickly they make a kill is amazing. These lions, who we call King of the Jungle, who I love, do not kill their prey right away in general. They, especially with youngsters like this, these females are going to start doing things like catching baby impala while they're still alive, catching warthog while they're still alive, and keeping them alive to teach these youngsters to hunt. I've also watched females take over an hour to kill a buffalo. They just start eating. They don't kill them quickly. A wild dog kills their prey very quickly. A leopard will do the same. I've seen cheetah take 4 cheetah brothers I used to work with take down full-grown red hartebeest males, which is a big antelope. And also, once they get it down, one of them sort of hangs onto the throat while it's still alive, and the others start eating. So that animal is basically being eaten alive, same as with lions. So, yeah, wild dogs, amazing. That has to be one of the most memorable experiences. Anything with wild dogs is memorable for me. Something I love about youngsters this age, lion youngsters this age, is that they like to play around with trees. So the mums will sleep like this, like what you're seeing now, or even just start with, let's say they're walking, start walking away. And the youngsters will play, and they'll play hide and go seek, and they're starting to hone their muscles, and then they'll find a little tree, and they'll climb up the tree, and then they wait for their brothers and sisters to climb up the tree, and then they all go down the tree. They're very, very playful. So what we can see from time to time is some of the youngsters are a little bit more twitchy than the adults, especially like those ones behind. So that hopefully means within the next sort of half an hour, I would guesstimate, because the temperature has now just dropped again, we're going to start seeing a bit more movement from them. They'll wake up first, they'll go over to mum and aunties and their siblings and go, oof, 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 and what's called reaffirming the social bond, and touch each other's faces. Sometimes they jump on mum or auntie and sort of like, come, let's go, let's play. Excellent. I like your decisions, everybody. You have agreed with me. Let's stay with the lions. We haven't seen them for a while. I'm fully on board with that. So something we've been chatting about when I get done with my drives is, it's interesting. So when you've got your guests on the vehicle with you, you can do things like touch and smell very easily. But now I'm showing you what I love through a screen. So I've been trying to come up with ways to do touch and smell with you through the screen. Now the lions is actually a good way for me to do this. I've been part of a lot of relocations of lions, excuse me, and done quite a lot of research with lions. Their tongues feel like sandpaper, and lions smell. They smell really bad. If any of you have Labradors at home, think of a Labrador that has gone swimming and then it's gotten really hot and then maybe it's rolled in the mud and maybe something else. They smell like that. They stink. And their fur is not, when they're little, even when they're little, no, their fur is coarse and I don't know if you don't wash your hair forever and it just feels dirty. That's what it feels like. That's the best way that I can describe it. And their pads on the bottom, that's going to take me a while to think of what to think of that. There's a gentleman, and I can't think of his name just now, who does research on lions in Namibia, on the desert lions up there, and something he does is smell their feet. He says every individual lion's foot has a distinct smell, which I would totally agree. They have glands in their feet, and so that individually, and you'll see, especially with males when they're following females, or females when they're checking out other tracks that come through, they'll smell around where they've been walking, and each individual has a smell. Like humans, we all individually have a smell. If we take out all the body lotion and body wash and deodorant and everything we put on, our bodies have our own unique smell.